Hello, hello, hello. And today I will be showing you how to create a procedural generated mountain with snow on top of it, and you have full control over the snow and the texture of the mountain. The reason I'm doing this is because not really seen anything on YouTube that goes in a similar direction. For example, like procedural snow on top of things, except with the Blender and internal like snow thing. Especially like on top of mountains or something, just like in regards to like a Z value. So I kind of developed my own shader tree for it, and I think it's pretty neat. It obviously can be improved a lot. I'm by far not the best procedural artist out there, but I can show you some pretty cool tricks on how to create some cool stuff. So yeah, for this you will need to go into your preferences, and we will need this and landscape default Blender add-on. And that's pretty much all we need, and Node Wrangler obviously, but I feel like that is a given. So yeah, let's start. Um, I'm sorry I can't use screencast because again, it just crashes my render. If I use it again, I have to fix that again, and I don't know why it does that at the moment. So you have to do without, but it should be fine. Okay, Shift A. Let's get a landscape into here, and sorry, let's change into solid again, and then change this to noise rocks. It should be on multifractal. So let's just change this to noise rocks, and I probably will use a seed that I like. So, this one looks quite cool. Let's take let's take this one. This one looks quite nice. Then just use that and scale it up on the Z-axis or something like this. I feel like this could be a pretty cool mountain. Then Control A, apply the scale, put a division surface over this, and then we can scale it up a bit just so we can see it a bit better. Then let's go into the shading. Then select your material. We will name this Snowy Mountain, and then we will start. Just as a heads up, at one point I won't be able to work in the material preview anymore because we will have uh, too many bump nodes sticking each other, and it will lag the entire viewport. So I will just start working in rendered mode. It's a bit shitty because at that point, the quality of the video will go down a bit, but I feel like it's fine. So yeah, um, let's start. First of all, we obviously want to start with a noise texture because that's what everything starts with, right? So let's get a noise texture in here, and let's put this somewhere right here. Control T, pull the texture coordinate, delete the mapping, object into vector again, and just drag it. Oh, we will need a lot of space. I'm telling you this now, you will need a ton of space for this. So let's put this around here. We will need all the space we can get. Now, um, let's set this noise texture to a scale of around 7.5. Crank the data up to max. We will bring the roughness a bit down to 4.5, and we put the distortion to 0. Now, we will need a second noise texture. We will put this here, and we will need a Voronoi texture. So let's bring up a Voronoi texture, put this here, and then just drag this object into the vector and just plug this in between. So we want to change this to distance to edge, put the scale to 2.4, put this scale down to 2, this roughness to 1, distortion stays at 0. Okay, now we have our main noise map, and we have our kind of smaller just like details which we can use, and both of that we will just Control 0 to mix it and change this to darken. And then we will bring up the factor to around 0.8. Like this. Like you can obviously play with this. I don't like it like this, and I also don't like it like this. So I like a 0.8. It's not too much. It's not too little. Now we will do the base color. So just bring in a color ramp. Put this here, and now you can make the rock whatever you want it to look like, right? So I'm just gonna make a very normal looking rock. You can of course do with this whatever you want, but I like some color in my rock, so I'm gonna do that. You can of course do with this whatever you want. And what I also like doing is I like to bring some highlights into this, so something like this, and then you can bring this up a bit, so something like this, so you have a bit more, something like this. I feel like this works quite well for like an overall, like just base rock color. And we can just leave it like this. We don't need to plug it into the base color yet, because we need to multiply this with something. You wanna guess what it is? This, no. Yes, correct. So for now, let's start working on that snow, shall we? So yeah, for the snow, we need first of all again a noise map. Obviously, because for everything we need a noise map in this. Bring noise map up to there. Bring the scale down to a 2.8. The detail stays max. Roughness goes up to a 0.6, and distortion goes up to a 0.2. I feel like this works quite well. Again, do with this what you want. But I found that this works quite well. Again, object into vector. Now we need something that is separating the height value, because snow obviously only lies on top of the mountains, and we want to have some control over how it is there. So this noise texture gives us the control we want, and a separate x, y, z gives us the height value that we need for this. So just plug the other back into the vector, select both, and Control 0 again to mix it, and then just change this from X to Z and preview it. This is not doing what we want. Why? Because we need to change this to darken. Now this is still not quite right? So we wanna change this to around 375, I feel like is a good value for this. And so now we can duplicate this, put this here, then just bring this one here and this one here, so that we have another control instance. So we have basically like two controls for this. Let's preview this. And now let's put this down to like a 0.8. This looks quite nice. And now we can get a color ramp, and we can bring out exactly what we want with this. So probably to around like, think again, by the way, this is just what the snow is going to look like. So this is all white parts are where our snow will be placed. If you want to animate this, you can change this to 4D, obviously. No, not this, sorry. You can change our snow thing to 4D and just move the W value. And then you can basically like change where the snow lies, but we can also change this later with something else, but I will get to there when we get to there. So let's, for now, just leave it at this. And this is basically our snow. So now, we need to multiply this into something. And that would be this, our main base color. So let's just select this and Control 0 again to mix it. But we don't want this to be a color, we want this to be our factor. Why? You will see in a second. So just plug this up to here, and then change this around, because it's at the moment it's reversed. So now just bring it up to like full white, and now you can see we have our snow on the mountain, and we have our mountain texture, which is working already. Now we need something else. You can plug this already into the base color, because this is now done. We can preview it. This is now done, and it works. It's still not enough, and it still doesn't have enough bump, but we will get to that when we get to that. For now, you can put the roughness. I feel like if you want, you can also do this for the roughness. You can just plug this one into the roughness and put a color ramp there. But I just like to keep it at like a 0.6 or something. I feel like this works pretty damn well for most scenes, but I will in the end also go over what you could do if you want to also have a procedural thing there. For now, snow has a subdivision surface, or a subsurface scattering, sorry. How do we do this? Well, basically, we need to bring this up because we need more space. And now we will take basically this, what we have here, and our color ramp down here, and we will mix it again, but not put it in the base color, but put it in the subsurface. Boom. Now we want to have this to mix. This is right. I put this into the base color again, but now we need a second control object to control this. So what we will do is we will just take our separate x, y, z, bring everything that we did a bit down to around here, and let's just duplicate this color ramp, put this here, x into the factor again, and then this into the factor as well. So now you can bring this back to here, and if we go to rendered view, you see we have a subsurface scattering on our rocks where it's supposed to be. Sorry, we need to change this around so that it's fitting. And now we just need to change our radius. I found that 0.1 works good. And here as well as 0.1. So basically just something like that, so that you have like small scattering, like not big scattering, but like some in the snow. You will also see this more if we start displacing the snow itself, but more to that later. I feel like maybe we could also put it 0.2. I feel like maybe even like that could work well. Yep, let's keep it at 0.2. You can see like there's like a bit of subsurface scattering now there in the tips, which is all we want basically from the snow. Okay. Now this was the easy part. This is basically our like, hey, okay, we have our snow base set up. But now we want rock details, obviously, because this is just not like a nice mountain texture, right? So yeah, this is where it gets tricky, and like I'm saying like really tricky. Because this is where we will do a lot of stuff, which will be complicated. And I'm saying this up front, if you want to keep it like this and just make the bumps, just skip this part. You can basically skip it. I like it because it gives the whole scene a lot more depth, but in theory you can also just skip it and don't do it. But yeah, let's do it. So we need a noise texture. Who would have guessed? So bring this up, put this here. Again, we need this, so bring this up, put this into the vector, and bring this down here. We don't need it to be 4D, I make it 3D again, but you can also leave it 4D for animated. Okay. Scale to 12, roughness to 0.6, and distortion stays the same. Let's preview it. We need this to put into a mix, so let's just bring up, let's just duplicate this darken node, put this here, change this to mix again. And now what we want here is we want the vector of this object to go into this mix. I will show you in a second why we will do this, and put the factor to, I like a 0.7. I feel like this is quite nice, honestly. Now, this we will put into a wave texture. So this goes here, and you can immediately see why we put that into there. Change this to Z, and now you have like these beautiful like rings that go around your mountain, which is honestly quite nice, which gives the whole thing some depth. But we will change the distortion to a 3, so that we have like so that they are not as regular and they look cooler. Let's bring the detail to max. Detail scale we put up to 0.5, roughness to 6.5, and the phase offset to a 2. No, let's do 2.5. So now we have some pretty nice like rock details, but we obviously don't want them all over, so we want to create a mask for this. And this is where it gets kind of really, really like hard. We need a mask texture for this, and we will just be stacking basically noise textures on top of this. So we're just gonna cancel out some of the things we just did. Vector into object, preview it. Put this scale to an 8. details down to 0. Maybe like a 0.1. I feel like a 0.1 is fine. Dimensions up to 2.4, and this stays at 2. Now we need a color ramp. Obviously, everything needs a color ramp. So plug the color ramp into here, and then just bring this right up to here. Something like this. We want this to be as maybe we can even put 0.1 is fine. Okay. Now we need something to mix this with, so we will need again a noise texture. So let's put this here. We can also bring this a bit upward again. We need more space. Noise texture here. Vector again into the object. And now we need another color ramp. So color ramp up to here. This noise texture needs a scale of 3.3. Max detail, roughness 0.6 is fine. Distortion stays the same. Vector into vector. Reset the color ramp. And now flip it. And bring this to around here and this to around here. I'm going to show you what we're doing. We're basically doing a pretty cool pattern. Again, you can choose yourself how this looks. And now we will take these two, Control 0 again, mix them and change this mix to lighten. Now we want a factor of 1. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, what we're doing is we're giving this some detail, but not too much, right? And now we will basically change this. We will take this and Control 0 again, mix it, change this to lighten, this it goes into refactor, and this color goes to white. And now we have some pretty damn cool details on our mountain. It is very irregular. You can't really see anything that would suggest that it's in any shape, way, or form a texture, which is what we wanted, right? So now what we need to do is we need to prep for our bump map. So we need basically this again. So just duplicate, drop this here, press this to mix. This stays at white, and then we basically just need to go down here and select our snow and put this into the vector. So now what we did is basically we have prepped our bump map. Because what happens now is everywhere where there is no rock texture. So when we put this into the bump, you will have a clear snow. You will have a clear snow, and everywhere else you have this bump map we just created. So this is this part done, basically. If we want to go out, we can do that now. So now let's create the bump maps itself. This will again be a bit tricky, but we will be able to manage. In theory, we already created one of the bump maps, and this is this. This will be one of our main bump maps, which we'll put down here. And then let's just do a second one, which will be very, very similar. Basically, we can also just duplicate this foreigner texture, put this here. And we will also in a second duplicate the other one. So let's put this into the vector and duplicate this. Preview it. And we want this scale to be a tiny bit bigger. So let's put it like 0.8. And then put this scale to 2.8, and then the detail stays, roughness goes down to 0.65, and distortion stays the same. And now we can start basically putting this into bump maps. For now, let's just get our first bump map in. Drag this out a bit. So Shift A, bump, first bump map. Goes obviously into the normal. What is our first bump map going to be? Our first bump map will be our snow, obviously, because this needs to go upwards. So take this into the height. It goes. This can stay at 1. Let's just preview the material, and I will show you. This can stay at 1. You can also put it down a bit. I honestly like it at 1. I think it's fine if you put it to a 0.8 or something, or even like a 0.5. regardless of like that depends honestly how much snow you want to have on your mountains. I'm gonna put this 2.7. I like it like it is, like this. So let's just put it 2.7. Then duplicate the bump, put it here. The strength, set it to a 0.5, because now we will put in our rocks. So let's just take this one. Where is it? I lost my... There it is. Take this, into the height it goes, and you can see we have some of our rock textures, right? Then duplicate this bump, put it here, go down again to 0.2, and then we will select this bottom part down here, and we'll put this into this height. And you'll see we'll just start stacking like bump nodes on top of each other, which just gives us depth in the mountain. And for last time, duplicate the bump node, bring it here, invert it this time, and put this to a 0.5. And then we need to go to the top and get this one, this mix we did, and just drag this down and put it into the height here. And now I think you have some pretty nice mountains which have controllable snow on top of each other. So if you wanna like like I showed, if you wanna change the snow, it is ridiculously easy to change it, and you basically can control how far the snow goes with this. So if you want more snow, or if you want the snow to fade out more, you can do it like this. If you want the snow to like less, more snow, like you can control this very, very well. You have full control over everything. You can even play with this if you want. But these values usually work pretty well, so I would keep them mostly. You can play with this. Like you have so many control things in this node setup that you can do. You can also replace some parts with an image texture. For example, if you say, "Oh, I don't like your mountain texture," well then just replace all of all of this I did down here just with an image texture and just add the snow on top of it. Like you can do a lot of cool things. And for example, I would just show you if we just add a dynamic sky for this. Which I also told in my latest tutorial which is great for something like this. So just add the color into here. Again, it's way overdue, so let's just get into this and put the exposure down to 0.3, maybe even a bit less, 0.2. Like you can see you have some small subsurface scattering in the snow up, up there again, but I feel we can even put this one fully back up to 1 because I like it like that. You can also still play more with the subsurface scattering and put this, I don't know, to like 0.3, and then you have more scattering up there. But for me, honestly, I like it like it is, and you have just so much control and flexibility over things, and it's just a great background asset to have. And you can just stack this. For example, if you would just make a new one and put this on the other object, for example, if I would just take this, just make a new landscape. I don't know, give me like the 9th seed, scale this in Z, scale this up, bring this to the right of it, then just put the same material on it. It just, we just need to play the scale, but it just also works. And it looks pretty damn well. Like obviously you have some flaws, like sometimes the material probably won't look like as perfect as you might want it, but it's like legitimately it's a great background asset and it's super easy once you have like the core understanding of it down. So yeah, um, I hope you liked the tutorial and I hope I could help you with this and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.